Welcome to the Not My Scene podcast, the podcast where we explore different scenes, communities, subcultures, and corners of the internet and tell you what we find. I'm Yarden.
I'm Kaya. What's your scene, Den?
Oh my God, I always have to go first.
I can go first if you want.
Sure.
Okay. I was trying to think of a fun thing to do, and then I decided I just have to be honest and speak the truth, which is that my scene this week has been Fred again. Like, without a doubt, I have been a woman possessed. So basically, he's doing 10 shows in 10 cities over the course of 10 weeks. And it's a hard gig to get tickets to. And he was doing 2 shows in the United States. One was in Chicago. And then he announced one in San Francisco. And I think that this really preyed on my I really like his music, but I also really like getting a ticket to something that's hard to get a ticket to.
Sure.
Kind of like Churner style. And I totally lost my mind this week, and I was really on my phone, not juggling. I was really on my phone looking for tickets to Fred again all week. It was driving me bananas because I was every time there was a ticket drop, it would sell out instantly, literally instantly. And I just had a really hard time believing that all of these 18-year-old boys with shaved head on the sides and curls on the top who are ripping their vapes and trying to go crazy in the mosh at Fred again were as fast to join the queues every single time as I am, as a crazy woman in her late 20s with the ability to work from home and many devices. I just feel like I'm crazier than them in this way.
You're
but they
they're
kept
in
beating
class.
me.
They can't be on their phone.
They're literally in class, yes. And so it was I just kept getting foiled by these, what I can only imagine are these teen boys. And then in the 11th hour, I got tickets for 2 hours into the show, but he wasn't going to go on until 11:30. So we got last minute floor tickets and we went, and it was really fun. Face value, baby.
So how did you end up doing it?
The way I ended up doing it is I had joined his Discord, me and all the boys.
Spotify listening age 16.
Literally. At 9:30, Fred, or I don't know, someone on his team posted in the Discord and was like, "Final few for you guys. Good luck." And I clicked on the link. I happened to have been refreshing it in that moment. I clicked on it after 2 seconds probably. And yeah, it was all the time spent at the party on my phone in the moments leading up to that, feeling sad for myself. I had this really kind of raw, embarrassing event that evening where when I was getting ready to go out for dinner and then go to this party, that I was hoping I was hoping I'd be able to go to the concert instead.
I was hoping I would not have to be at the party.
When I was getting ready, I was like, what can I wear that is Fred again appropriate? And that won't it's really cold right now in SF, and I was like, I'm not going to wear a coat just in case I get tickets. So then I had to wear many thin long sleeve shirts so that would be easy to just shed and put somewhere if I got tickets. And then at 7 p.m. after I had not gotten tickets on another ticket drop, my friends were like, "Oh, look at Kaya shivering because she didn't bring a jacket because she thought she was going to go to Fred again tonight." And I felt really sad then. Look at them now. So anyways, I got the tickets and I went, and it was so fun. It was such an amazing show. And I wanted to say specifically my scene in the aftermath of the show has been watching his Tiny Desk concert, which if you haven't seen, I highly recommend. It's really fun. And I think what I like about it particularly is that he does a lot of stuff have you seen it before?
No.
He's a musical genius. He is really good at the piano, and the he plays the xylophone and a lot of different things, and he makes a lot of his beats and sounds with objects. Like in the Tiny Desk thing, he like produces the songs like on the scene, you know?
That's cool.
So he
Yeah.
like will
With
like record
bananas.
something on the piano with bananas exactly. And like at one point he like I'll do it on the mic. He's like, and then he like loops
ASMR.
ASMR. He like loops the like drumming on the desk with his hands. And then he like I just saw like a reel where he like was like rubbing two like whiteboard erasers together and it's like in his new song Feisty.
Oh, that's fun.
It's really fun.
Okay,
So
I'll
he
have
like
to
gets
check
really
it out.
creative with sounds and it reminds me of like I feel like there's like a cup song element there, you know? Like I love to see
Yeah,
someone like make music with like their hands,
with objects.
with objects.
That's
Yeah.
fun.
I remember seeing Tosh Sultana at Sasquatch like a number of years ago and she like kept doing things and looping it with a pedal. I
Mm,
love like a
I
loop
do love
pedal.
that. Yeah, I love watching someone loop in real time.
Like it could almost like sound like shit and I'd be like,
Yeah.
"Yes, like loop that shit. Like that's so cool."
Like, how did you do that?
I know it would sound so bad if I tried to loop that shit. Maybe we should try. So
Someone
that's
should
my scene.
challenge someone make a looping edit of us. It's like
Oh yeah.
Kaya saying, it would be so bad if I looped that shit, loop that shit, loop that
Loop
shit.
that, loop that, loop that, loop that, loop that shit, 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 shit. Yeah. I was trying to
um,
sing She Will Be Loved to Tim the other day because I was like, oh, I have this Maroon 5 song stuck in my head. But I wasn't singing the chorus. I was like singing the bridge. And he was like, I've never heard that song in my life. It was so, it was
and
such a
she
poor rendition.
will be like, what's the
It was the part that
bridge?
was like, it's
Why
like
were
the
you
part, I
singing
don't even
that
know if that's the
part?
bridge. Yeah, well, everyone knows that part. It was the part that's like,
So you
it's
weren't trying to
like,
get him to like know what song it was. You just wanted to sing the other part.
I just wanted him to know the part that was in my head,
Oh.
which was like, I know where you are, alone in your car. The
No,
things
that
that
is
make
not what
you
it
who
sounds
you
like at
are.
all.
I know that goodbye means nothing at all.
No, no,
Cause
Kaya,
I
that's.
she
Wait,
falls.
stop. Let me try to get it.
But you know the part.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I also don't really know the words.
I know where you are. No, it's really hard.
Yeah, it's hard.
Alone.
It's kind of like when we sing it, it sounds like a really different genre. It's
Yeah.
like it sounds like soulful emo music, kind of.
I know where you
You
are.
are alone in your car. I also don't. I
I
know
know
the
where you
things that
are.
make you who you are. I know that goodbye means nothing at all.
No,
Gonna
I know that
catch you every
goodbye
time
means.
she falls.
You got there. You got back there. I'm gonna have to listen after this.
Okay, I'll rehearse and come back. You want to try one more time?
No.
Oh, she's joking.
You trying to get the Fred again tickets though reminds me of the meme of the guys, underground look like digging and one of them like gives up right before the gems.
Yes, me refreshing the Discord 2 hours after the show had
It's
started.
like
I was like digging. I was not going to stop digging.
it's like never give up, stay on your phone.
Literally, like it when in doubt, spend all week on your phone. If you keep refreshing, you will get the Discord link tickets. Do not engage with your friends at a real life party. Stay on your phone.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, cool. I'm glad that sounds fun.
Thank you. It was fun. Mhm. Okay, what's your scene?
I was just in Nepal, so I guess my scene is Nepal, which was a very fun trip. I was there for a wedding, and I also got to do a lot of other activities while I was there. I mean, not so many activities because a lot was the wedding, but I wanted to talk specifically about the safari that we went on. It was funny because like two of our friends who were joining us for it, Lucy and Sid, they like came directly from the US to the safari. So it was like Monday at this point, and like Sid hadn't seen a bed since Friday night. And
Hadn't seen a bed.
and we like took a really small like domestic flight to Chitwan, which is where the jungle is and where we were going for the safari. And the flight was super delayed because all of the domestic flights there are just like always like an hour late. It's kind of like a fun vibe. I feel like you would like how it's kind of like show up at the airport whenever, and like you will just get on the next one, and it's kind of like bus. Like for all of the domestic flights we took, like we got there like an hour before the flight time, but then they like didn't even let us get our boarding pass and like go through security until like what was supposed to be the flight time. And then then it was like much later that the plane actually took off.
I see. Yeah, I do like that.
So because they hadn't seen a bed in so long, and then
Yeah.
we had like a driver picking us up at the airport, and obviously we were super late, but we had told them and whatnot, so they picked us up, and then we got to the hotel like an hour later than we were, they were expecting us, and we just didn't realize that it was like such a curated vibe. Like they were like really waiting for us, and we were all like, especially the people that had just gotten there from the US, were like kind of like dying, like felt really gross, really tired. We were like, they like took us into the lobby, like gave us drinks, and they were like explaining everything. And he was like, so tomorrow you'll do the big safari, blah blah blah. And Sid was like, and today like more relaxing. And he was like, relaxing? Not exactly. And
That's like such a crazy thing for any hotel employee to say. Relaxing? Not exactly. If you're looking for beds, you've come to the wrong place.
I guess we had booked like this package, so they were like with all of the activities, so they like really wanted to make sure we got everything in, which is nice. But it was like very scheduled, and they were like, lunch is very much ready. So we like,
they're like, we're not even gonna let you see the rooms.
no, they didn't. And so
Oh,
well,
wow.
basically like they took us to like our table for lunch, and then they were like, so you're gonna do a 1 hour village walking tour that will leave at 4 that will leave at 4:30.
So you're gonna run the mile.
And it's like an hour long walking tour, and at this point it's like 4, and since we didn't really realize the vibe, we were like, oh, is there any way it could be like 4:45, like they really want a shower? And then they were like, no,
Were other people on the walking tour?
yeah, so it makes sense. There was like another couple on the walking tour.
They're like, no diva.
Yeah. And so we had time to, during lunch, like a couple of us like ran back to like grab like an extra shirt, but that was it. And then we went like straight up to the walking tour.
Oh my gosh.
Which is just, and then like
relaxing,
straight from the
not
walking
exactly.
not exactly. And then straight from the walking tour to like a cultural dance, and they were like, if you don't go to the dance, you don't get dinner. So and
why? Like what?
I'm sure they would give us dinner, and they were like being a little cheeky, but they were like, we have one rule here, like no dance, no dinner.
We have one rule. You snooze and you lose out on all food for the trip.
You have
This
one
is
rule:
so
you will
funny.
not see a bed until Monday night. And
They just had your best interests at heart. They didn't want Sydney to take a a trip ruining nap at like 3 p.m., and then wake
and
up in
like
the middle of the night.
true, they just wanted her to get on the schedule. And then like part of the cultural dance, we also had to participate. So I'm like, this is really like this would
Yes.
be such a fever dream if I hadn't slept in days.
And every time you try to step out, they're like, "Oh, not hungry? Decided not to eat dinner tonight, huh? No dinner for the madam."
It
I
was
don't know
all
why I'm
like
trying to do like a British accent.
it was all like very nice, but it was like it was just like the longest day.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, the next day was the safari, which was really fun. It was in a Jeep and we
So fun.
saw some rhinos and some
That's so
monkeys.
scary. They're like the
The
most
rhinos.
lethal animal, right? Or
Rhinos?
no, hippos maybe are one of the most lethal animals.
I don't know. I know elephants are pretty lethal, but
Hmm.
I don't know what the most is. I feel like a crocodile would be like the most. We did see crocodiles too.
Oh wow. I don't know. My dad made some comment about how I think he said like hippos kill the most kids in Africa or something the other day. Seems like a crazy stat.
I feel like their mouths could fit a lot of kids.
Yeah, hippos kill more people annually than any other large land animal in Africa.
Well, I don't think there were any hippos there.
Oh, overall deadliest animal to humans. Do you want to guess?
It's not crocodile. Wait, it's who kills? Is it mosquitoes?
Yes. God damn, that was so good.
Thanks.
Okay, Mega
We were
Mind.
scared of mosquitoes. So.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
So you
that's
saw rhinos. That's so cool.
yeah. Some sloth bears from far away. But
Cool. That sounds
yeah,
like
it was
fun.
cool.
Did you feel scared at any point?
On the safari,
No, at the cultural dance. When they said you're not getting dinner if you don't dance.
I was pretty excited to dance.
I was nodding. Well, that sounds awesome. I would love to go on a safari.
Yeah, it was fun. All right, well, shall we get into our topic?
The dark underbelly of Renaissance Fairs Part 2.
Woo, I'm
Okay,
excited. This is like,
me too,
I feel like this really did warrant a two-parter.
for sure. We talked about all the glitz and the glam and the big boobs in a fun way on the last episode, but this
So go back to
episode,
part one if you haven't heard it. We
mm-hmm,
don't want you to hear only one side of the festival. That would be
no,
unfair.
that would be very unroyal of us to do.
I know you had like some history you wanted to go through, and then I had like an article I read about the Washington Renaissance Fair.
Okay, I thought we could start with a little bit of history on the Renaissance Fair. If you're interested in learning more about this, Secret Histories of Nerd Mysteries is another podcast that I relied on heavily for this. They do a great job, like really digging into the primary sources on all of this. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to summarize it because I think it's kind of relevant. Anyways, I was thinking about where Renaissance fairs came from, and they had a good episode on the beginning of it. The first Renaissance fair was held in California in the 1960s. And so to set the stage, like, this is like McCarthyism, like Red Scare era. And during that period, there were these things called loyalty pledges, which I feel like we learned about this in school a long time ago. But basically, it was like people had to like swear their allegiance and loyalty to the United States. And one of the groups of people that were being forced to do this was school teachers. especially like public university teachers
Mm.
for the University of California, but also just like teachers. And so basically, there was this lady, Phyllis Patterson, and her husband, Ron, and they moved to Los Angeles in the 1960s. And she was a high school teacher. At the time, she like lived in Laurel Canyon, setting the stage. She left teaching high school to be a stay at home mom. That was like what she told everyone. But her son published a biography later in life saying that she actually left the school system she was teaching for because she found the idea of signing a loyalty pledge to be abhorrent. So she quit and she
Hmm.
started being a stay at home mom, but also teaching like drama classes out of her backyard and like teaching to like other Laurel Canyon, like artsy kids, whatever, like working with other creatives. And these like backyard drama shows were very successful. And then she started doing like, it was called like comedy or something in a wagon. Like she had like a covered wagon that they would use for the shows. And it was also successful and the kids like loved it. And it was this whole thing about learning through play and drama. And I feel like you can really imagine the vibe, like backyard drama in the 1960s in LA, like
Yeah.
hippie, like,
And she was like teaching them historical things.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Historical things, putting on like historical plays. But also around this time, a lot of different creatives in Hollywood were getting fired because of McCarthyism and like loyalty pledges and all that stuff. So she got like a bunch of volunteers to basically put on the first Renaissance Fair. And it was all volunteer run. And it was at this ranch called Haskell's Rascal Ranch. And it was like this guy Haskell's property that they basically just let them do the fair on. And then it was co sponsored by this like nonprofit radio station in LA, which still is a radio station. And it seemed like this like really amazing, cool, creative thing. Like all these kids got to put on their plays and all of these like creatives came out of the woodwork and were doing like niche skills that they didn't necessarily you didn't know that people you knew could do that. And it was like this really beautiful nonprofit, like very community oriented thing that prevailed like all through this time when artistic expression and counterculture was really being stamped out because of
Yeah.
Red Scare stuff. And she like never openly expressed any communist ideals, but it seems like there was a lot of overlap in counterculture and anti Red Scare kind of nationalistic ideals happening
Yeah,
at this
totally.
fair. And like she seemed so cool. Like the fair was denied permits 3 years in 1966. And so she asked the American Film Institute to produce a documentary of the event so that she could open the gates with a film permit. And then she said that all of the attendees were extras. So she was just like really out there
Wow.
grinding for this fair and keeping it going. And that's the Southern California Pleasure Fair.
Oh, cool. I feel like this is really like the kind of fair you were looking for when you talked about how the one you went to was so much more like commercialized.
Totally. This was like the exact thing that I feel like I wanted. And she said, the fair reminds us of simpler times, more in touch with nature and earth. So beautiful.
Love.
Yeah. So that's like the history of the fair, which I think is so cool. Also, her family still puts on, after she started the Southern California Pleasure Fair, they moved to like Marin in Northern California and they started this Dickens Christmas Fair, which still happens to this day, which honestly I would way rather be going to their original. They did like a Ren Fair in Northern California too at one point. And the Dickens Fair is like a little less my vibe. Like I feel like it's very like steampunk, like top hats and like girls in body dresses, you know what I mean? Like a different kind
Okay.
of
But it is still like
thing.
trying to be like from a different time, but it's more like industrial revolution time.
Exactly. It's like Industrial Revolution in England, I think. I don't know, Dickens. Yeah. And you can get like intricate braids in your hair, but not in like a fey way. It's like in a, like that American Girl doll who had the like intricate Catholic braids, whatever her name
Okay.
was. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Catholic.
So Yes. So that's the story with the first Ren Fair. And I thought it was so interesting that it was like kind of this, in some ways, like direct response to McCarthyism and like this like government crackdown. So I don't know. I never really thought about Ren Fairs of having this like inherently political kind of background, but it makes sense. Like I feel like all of these kind of nerdy like counterculture
Yeah.
things often are like rooted in kind of anti-establishment
Yeah. And
beliefs.
even if the fair or a lot of the fairs have become super commercial, like the people that are really like putting their blood, sweat, and tears into it are artists. And those are usually going to be people that are more anti establishment.
Totally.
So
Yeah.
maybe the spirit lives on, we hope.
Yeah. And I think we should discuss, I don't know, I was thinking about this a lot after I listened to the interview. So I want to talk more about like how we've gotten where we are now
Yeah.
once we hear
Well,
from our anonymous contributor.
for sure. Okay. I read this article in the Seattle Met about the Washington Midsummer Renaissance Fair,
I'm dying to
which,
go.
yeah, same. So I was super interested because this is where we're from. And it seems like there's a lot of drama that's gone down recently. This article came out this last summer. So hopefully I can summarize it in a easy to follow way because the article was kind of hard to follow. There are a lot of characters, but it
Hmm.
really centers around a few people that have been integral to the fair from the beginning that have now left and like kind of the reasons why they've done so. And a lot of so this fair is run by the Washington Renaissance Art and Education Society, but it's kind of there's two people that really are in charge of it, and they are
So it is
Tracy.
like nonprofit. E.
Yeah, yeah, but it is run by Tracy Nyetapuski and David Day. They took over the fair from Cleveland, and they do pay themselves quite well.
From Cleveland. Like they came from
I
Cleveland or
think
the fair
so.
came from Cleveland.
They came from Cleveland. The fair has been going on longer than, the fair has been going on since before they took over. And,
Before
you
the
know,
hostile takeover from Cleveland.
yes. So some of the overarching complaints are that ticket prices have gone up a lot, but workers are still not making much, if anything. And something we'll go into more, especially with the interview. And something that I didn't know before is that a lot of the people that you would think are like regular, like people working at the Renaissance Fair, they are volunteers. So they're
Yeah.
might be making nothing and they might be making a small stipend.
I was thinking about too in the context of this history. I don't know, it just there's something like there's definitely a tension there because I think on the one hand, like doing this very grassroots like art and drama festival where it's like all these volunteers come together and you have this like guy who built sets in Hollywood who
Mm-hmm.
got fired because of Red Scare beliefs. So is like building the stage as like a creative outlet. That's so cool. I love that. But then
Yeah.
when you have like companies running fairs and some people getting paid and some people not.
Mm-hmm.
It just seems really hard to maintain that like volunteer led spirit in a way that's not
Like exploitative.
exploitative once it gets to a certain scale.
Yeah, yeah. And once you have someone that's like dictating, you have to spend this many hours and do,
Yeah,
yeah,
totally.
yeah. Rather than you just do what you're passionate about and everyone's pitching in together.
Mhm.
But it sounds like also a lot of the volunteers they used to get perks like free meals and passes, and that all of that has declined as well. Like now they can't even go on peak days, like they can only go on Sundays. They don't get the friends and family passes, so there's like
That's
so much
insane.
fewer perks. I know.
That's like actually crazy to do volunteer labor and only be able to go on Sundays. What if you want to go on Saturday and have a few glasses of mead and not have to work the next day?
Right, because you're not making any money as a volunteer. So you do have a
Right. Because you
job.
have a day job. Yeah,
Yeah,
totally.
and this is like a crazy quote. Apparently, so one of the people, Pusky, said in regards to the impact of raising ticket prices on low-income patrons, quote, "We don't want those Walmart people here anyways." And this is
My
kind
jaw
of,
is dropped.
yeah, this is kind of hearsay.
First,
Like, this is according to a former worker, but other workers confirmed they had heard her say this as well.
okay, so definitely hearsay, but we do have a lot of ears in the pot.
That have heard it.
Here, a lot of ears have heard this say. That's insane. First of all, how does Nieta Pusky, what is her name?
Yeah, we can call her Tracy. First,
Okay, how does Tracy even know what Walmart is if she's like the Ren Fair queen? Like Walmart, if you're gonna be like insulting them, at least you should be like, we don't want these plebes. Like I don't want serfs in my Renaissance village. But to call them Walmart, that's just so. Also, it's definitely sorry to any Scenester sisters listening from Cleveland, but sorry, it's giving Cleveland. Like I've never heard someone in Seattle insult someone by being like,
we don't want
um,
Walmart people. They would say we don't want Costco people,
exactly. We don't want Fred Meyer people in our Ren Fair.
which is
Um,
still like very fucked up. Yeah.
no, it's super fucked up. That's crazy. And yeah, that pisses me off too because I do think that Ren fairs are expensive, like we discussed on the last episode, but you can do them for an affordable price if you're like, I'm going to pack my lunches and
Mm.
bring a water bottle to refill in there. Actually, you would have gone crazy. At the Ren fair I went to, there were no water refill
Oh,
stations.
that's messed up, especially if it's super hot out, which it sounds like it usually is at a lot of these.
Yes, it was crazy. And then I was like, I guess they aren't like required to provide that because this is like private, but it seems crazy to not let me fill up my water anywhere. Like the
Yeah.
ye old lemonade shack wouldn't let me give them my water bottle to fill up. But so they are expensive, but I feel like there's a way to do it for a pretty affordable. Like kid tickets are normally less, and I just feel like you aren't really getting that Renaissance experience anywhere else. So like to be like classist and shitty.
Yeah, it's not like the most expensive thing you can do. And so we shouldn't be like trying to make it prohibitively expensive. People go to Disneyland and spend way more money.
Yeah.
And obviously, like that has other value to people, but I don't know. Keep your local Ren Fair accessible. Yeah. And some other common complaints. So there's kind of like a common concern that the Ren Fair is losing its local vibe and losing its educational vibe because of all of the, you know, crackdowns from the admin. Many local acts are leaving and going to more smaller local fairs, and there's a
The
concern that
admin,
they'll,
like the Cleveland people, like
yeah,
Tracy and Daniel
yeah,
Day.
like some of the other things they do, like they like prohibit anyone talking bad about them. It just seems like there's a lot of issues that people have. So there's a lot of local acts that are leaving, and there's concern that they're all going to be replaced with national touring acts, which again, it sounds like there's a lot of cool talent in the national touring acts, like those professional acts, but
Mm-hmm.
you wouldn't want all fairs to be the same. And it's I think there's value in as someone who's never been to a Renaissance festival, but like having a local flair.
Totally, especially for those of us who like people of those of us who ride the circuit and go to every fair. Like I want to be seeing different stuff at every fair
Yeah.
I go to.
Yeah, and be like, oh, this
Yeah.
has a Texas feel, this has a Washington feel.
Right, like the Rocky
Yeah.
Horror. Like they're talking shit
Yeah.
about the fairies, but it's like a fairy joke instead of like,
Yes,
yeah, yes.
exactly. And they
Um,
also added more weekends this summer, like it seems like kind of last minute, and that made it really difficult for people who work multiple fairs, which a lot of people do, because then it overlapped with other fairs, and that's also just kind of a no-no in the Renaissance fair world.
That makes sense. I can imagine there being like scheduling turf wars. Like you only get the like
Totally.
allotted time. Who the hell are these people and where did they I'm so curious. Like why did they ever get hired to take it over? What happened
Yeah,
in Cleveland? We have to go talk to the Ohio Renaissance Fair people to see what devastation Tracy and Daniel left in their wake,
true.
burning through local fairs.
Unfortunately don't know much more about them, but there was some other drama that was outlined in this article, specifically a few key characters here. There is Annie Haig, a 50-year-old professional fairy, Goals, who has a metaphysical shop in Fremont.
Fork
She
found in the kitchen.
she has been the fair has been a big part of her life for a really long time. Unfortunately, she ended up bringing a romantic partner into the fair community who became violent and was charged with fourth degree domestic violence assault. And the big issue here is that she went to the fair, she went to Tracy and David, and he was still signed on as a cast member the next year. So she wasn't sure what to do because she had a restraining order against him and they weren't supposed to be, close to each other, but then they were supposed to work together. And the Washington Renaissance Arts and Education Society didn't find a solution. So she had to leave her community. And the fair's public relation, this is going to be another jaw dropping quote. The fair's public relations person told Annie Haig, if we turned everyone away because they did something wrong, we wouldn't have anyone to volunteer with us.
Oh my god, they're making it sound like it's like Australia. Like it's like this is where all the felons come. Like we this is where everyone who's like barred from traditional labor comes because they have such bad criminal records they can't get hired anywhere. It's like a like restorative justice like rehabilitative career path to go become like a man in tights at the Ren Fair. That's ridiculous and so not in the spirit I feel of Phyllis. Like I feel like
Yeah.
something very weird has happened with some of these Ren Fairs where like now it's like instead of them being a place that's known for like theater and like fairy frolicking and being in touch with nature and art. It's like you can do whatever you want here. There's no rules in the woods and like bosoms will be busting and it's like
Yeah, I
there's
guess it's
something
like they're
wrong.
trying to be like counterculture, but in a way where you don't actually have any community values.
Right, like counter to the whole culture, like
It's a
counter to
whole
like
culture.
society. And like
Yeah.
I feel like it's only fun to be like tongue in cheek and lewd when it's like, but we know that everyone here like really respects each other. And this is a fun thing to do because we're also like evolved and artistic. But if it's like, oh no, like you guys actually want to go back to like the way that women were treated in the Renaissance,
Yeah.
like, yeah,
Which
that becomes a
probably is
problem.
what a lot of these men are into
Yeah.
the fair. Hopefully not too many, but there's one more guy in the
Oh, great.
story. There's actually more, but I'm just going to talk about one more. This guy Richard Curtin, who worked as a merchant character, and he was arrested for child sex trafficking charges.
Oh,
And David and Tracy did not release a statement about the arrest. And then it seemed like after it happened that it was kind of an open secret. Like a lot of people just knew about this. And one 15-year-old volunteer said he had been warned about him. And then after the arrest, he was still living on the fair property.
oh my God.
Yeah.
That's
So scandal
crazy. This is like a
plagues the
destination for
Washington
kids.
Renaissance Fair.
Seriously. Okay, something is like very wrong. We need to clean up these fairs. That's insane. Tracy and David, at this point, I'm picturing like Tilda Swinton in a really sharp tuxedo strutting through like just a devilish little corporate bitch. And I don't know if you've seen Michael Clayton, but that's like how I'm picturing her. She plays like a big law
Mhm.
attorney in that, and she's scary. And then David, I'm picturing like David from Schitt's Creek, like just like a bumbling, like he's just like going along with it and like living a life of luxury. I haven't seen Schitt's Creek, so I'm sorry if this is totally off, but I'm picturing that actor, and he has like thick glasses, and they are an evil duo, and they must be stopped. We have to get the fair back into the hands of locals, I think.
I think so.
Or just like a loving elementary school teacher who wants to spread the whimsy and magic of theater and
Hmm.
drama with the people.
Yeah. And it's sad because it does seem like there are a lot of those people that are working or were working at this fair, and hopefully they haven't all left. But it does make me want to, like, maybe go to one of the smaller, like, local fairs in like a small town.
Yeah, I mean, if I go to the Washington Midsummer Fair now, I'm going to have like a very discerning like gaze as I take in the merchants and characters around me. And if somebody says something lewd to me, I'm going to have to consider whether it's a bit or whether they have been arrested for child sex trafficking. And maybe I shouldn't laugh or smile at them after they say something weird.
Yeah,
I don't like it.
seriously. Yeah, it makes it not funny at all.
Like if you want to have like a Lord of the Rings experience or if you want to have like a Game of Thrones experience. Like they're
God.
taking all of the like fucked up parts of medieval life, you know?
Yeah, they're taking it too far.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Well,
Okay.
that's enlightening. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah. Should we get into the interview?
Yeah, let's do it. Please note that the voice of the person interviewed has been changed to preserve their anonymity. Happy listening.
Thank you so much for talking to me. To start off, what do you do at Ren Fairs?
Absolutely. I have been involved in some form of Ren Fair since I was 13. I started out selling soda and then had a booth. I eventually became a member of what's called scripted cast, which is the performances that Ren Fairs will put on during the event itself. Different Ren Fairs will do like Camelot or Robin Hood, something like that. I've also been a rose seller, and I have been a pro act that has performed with a variety act that traveled to a few different fairs that were under the same corporation. And also, I've been the queen of two different fairs.
So, are you still actively doing this?
I am. I actively was put on the fair that we did last year. As queen, I kind of ran the improv portion. I'm not sure if I am going to do it next year.
Tell me a little bit about why you might not do it next year.
It's a bit strange because I've done it for so long, but we've gotten to a point where I respect my skills as a performer too much to put up with a certain level of disrespect that at least some of the fairs that I have worked with and some of the other ones I've seen tend to do. So it's very often a situation of upper management not taking their volunteers because now not all fairs operate this way. A lot of them have started paying for the people that, without a doubt, work for them, including doing manual labor building the fairs. It's not a hard site. But a lot of them will specifically have it be volunteers so that they don't have to pay or don't have to pay a reasonable rate. I believe this year a 15-year-old parent pulled them out of the fair and said, "You're not going to get paid $50 to be doing manual labor lifting ice up a hill for a fair." And that was a brainer. I worked as a volunteer, and it's serious, and I've also dealt with disrespect and trauma and scandals. Everybody's fucking everybody, I'm just saying. But what brings you back is almost a cult-like atmosphere. A lot of fairs will advertise, and you'll hear this 100% from other interviewers, that fairs are a safe space for people who are weird and different and all varieties.
And to what extent have you found that to be true?
It creates a very much cult-like atmosphere around whoever is the head figure. And even in some stuff you've seen on the media, they kind of touch on that. So I've rarely seen a fair where that isn't the case. So it's, there's no religious really aspect of it. But take a moment, is a charismatic leader that's leading a group of vulnerable people who are basically doing some form of labor or performance for either free or minimum stuff, and they happily come back. Kind of sounds like a cult. And I was 13 when I started, and I didn't really have parental supervision. One of my best friend's mother worked at the fair, and she was basically raised in it.
Wow. So is that how you got involved, through your friend's mother?
I got involved through my father when I first started fairs. He worked with someone who was part of it, and we'd always gone to fair as patrons. I will admit that for patrons, it is that safe space. It is that place. Just not for the people who are making that magic. And that's where kind of the fluff gets thrown about, that it's this magical place. Except, you're dealing with sexual advances, you're dealing with extremely hot weather. Oftentimes you have to buy your own costume. My father worked with someone who was part of the Renaissance Fair and asked if I wanted to do it. And as a 13-year-old, I was so excited. My father was no longer able to choose a fair, and so I ended up doing it without parental consent. I was given something called a parent, which is a fair parent. And, there's something inherently problematic with putting minors in corsets. I went to a fair once with my friends who were my own age, and we had to write our age, 14, 15, and 16, on our cleavage to prevent C4 from coming back. And there are all these videos about, I love tits at the Ren Fair, or the sexy lady pouring beer down my throat is why I go. They don't realize that a lot of those people were groomed since childhood. There are still huge name fairs that will make posts saying, congratulations, our elevator is finally 18. I actually campaigned at my fair because I experienced a lot in the early 2000s. The culture was different back then and was a lot worse. And so I've campaigned to get rid of some of this stuff. Many fairs would have badges called dungeon bait that would identify minors, and that comes from jail bait, literally stating, this hot kid isn't someone you should sleep with. I know, it's hard. It's a balance because I do love performing, and I've done so much work at different fairs to get the culture in a better place. I can too sit down. But my core people that I work with, I very much try to protect them. One of the questions they ask is, are the patrons going to be creepy to me? And I tell them, other than a photographer or two, no. It's the vendors, the pro acts, and the people that the fair will not go after if they do something. Basically, I've gone to upper management, said that this person made me extremely uncomfortable, and asked if they could not come back, if they wouldn't work, they could be a patron, but I didn't want to work in the squelching heat with this person. I was told, yeah, sure, we've checked it and everything. And then a deal went behind my back, and then I was never even informed that that exact person would in fact be working. And that's kind of why I am not going to be returning. And it is a struggle, because I want to make it a better and safer place, but I've kind of taken the end of that a good chunk of time, and it's a challenge. And there's so much also drama, and everyone's connected to everyone. There's all kinds of different circles of cheating and non-cheating and the campgrounds. Lord knows there are tons of jokes about men's kilts. Men are not excluded from desexualization, but they are more likely to get it from patrons. Patrons that will smack a guy's ass up because they're in tights or try to lift kilts. Versus for women or young females, it's normally the power structure of the fair.
And when you say, like, you're seeing the same kind of people around, there's a lot of overlapping circles, is that, like, nationwide?
I would say it's regional. One of the things that a lot of people get wrong about Ren fairs is it's almost a joke that we're like a carnival, we pack up and travel all around the world. Vendors will do that. Some pro-acts will do that, but the volunteers, the people who aren't getting paid, they tend or are getting paid minimum in that heat, don't tend to travel as much. So they'll stay kind of in an area. Now, don't get me wrong, there are people probably in Nebraska that I'm Eskimo sisters with. I even get, the circle is wide and expanding, and it causes problems because you can't throw a stone without hitting somebody's head. So you're either staying on a campsite, which brings a trailer or a tent, and you camp out on field. If you're a pro-act, you may do that, or you may get an Airbnb. You have to pay for it yourself. There's pro-acts that got banned because they started their after-hour activities with someone else's wife before the sun went down.
Couldn't even wait.
No, they couldn't even wait till the sun went down. And the funny thing about that is that same pro-act, they have no problem really with it. I mean, they got banned from one, but if they could, without it being a scandal, they would let them back in. There's also a lot of ties to the kink community. Things like, here's something I would honestly love for more people to understand. Back in the early 2000s, if you wore like a foxtail or some kind of animal tail, before furries really became kind of public knowledge, if you wore one of those tails, it meant that either you hooked up or you were down to hook up. I'll say that my information is a bit shoddy because when I was told this, it was because I was 15 and wanted to buy one because I thought it would be cute, and I had an older grandmother mom tell me not to. I mean, it's not really a thing anymore, but the kink community overlapping with the Faire community is so prevalent, and also polyamory in the community is so prevalent that it is seen as very weird to be either monogamous or to not be involved in some kind of kink.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, I could see that. Yeah, I mean, you've already given me a lot, but is there any, like, other, like, crazy story or situation that comes to mind?
Now, this is a secondhand story, but apparently back when our fair was a little bit younger, one of the pro fighting acts came in to the non-air conditioned in the middle of the hottest day of summer green room with an entire sword sticking out of his clavicle. He shoots all the way through. And if you think there's workman comp, if you think there's anything like that, I've been concussed, I've hurt hands. You know, these are real. The alcohol is real. And pretty much every innocent-looking mermaid or, witch character has some salacious stories.
Oh, yeah, it sounds like there's real danger.
There is, when you see those fights, they are like choreography, and dance choreography are very similar to wrestling. The chance of injury are extremely real. I've seen so many swords break and fly off mid-fight, and people will say, "That's an amazing trick. How did you guys do it?" And it's an aggro guy who is probably in the middle of heat stroke, hitting like a truck and breaking his sword. And that's really divine. Very Hollywood, where you get to enjoy the movies, but you don't hear about the literal child actors with men who are being put in danger, or the shady deals that leave people underpaid and traumatized. It's very much you can still go to the movies and enjoy them, but the background of it really, when the documentary about Nickelodeon came out, I couldn't watch it because it was so similar to a lot of what I experienced when I was young in Ren Fair. But I will tell you, it's getting better. It's getting a lot. There's still a lot of fights. There is still a lot. I mean, Lord knows in this country alone, we struggle with a generation of misogyny. We struggle with all this. But, I will state that from when I started, when I was 13, the environment is so much safer. And then my best friend was born into it, while she experienced trauma and she experienced problems, her experience was at least a little bit safer than mine. And so the idea is hopefully as the generations keep going, that people are more vocal and less afraid. The teenager in a corset that he winch tips, which is tipping them down in a corset so physically can't get up. Ugh. Not old enough to speak out about it and be part of management and be part of things that really can change the environment. And the goal is to make Ren Fairs a much safer place, not just for, the patrons or the pro acts. There's a hierarchy. The patrons, the pro acts, the vendors, the managers, and the actors, the volunteers, the people moving ice, the people doing the manual labor for free for a build. The idea is to be able to make everyone in that structure be safe. Has that been starting a different fair or working and building something myself that may be where I eventually go with it?
Hell yeah. Okay. Love that.
Absolutely. Can't clean the street that I live on. I would not see it burn, but I'd like to move the people away and be able to support them in a safer place, be able to support them in the haven that your average TikTok viewer thinks the Ren Fair is.
Mhm. Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I wish you much success in that. I hope that you can get as many people in a safe place still doing what they love as possible.
And I'm seeing it. The bigger fairs will turn pop culture. We're seeing more pop-up events from good creators, and hopefully the culture will keep moving in that positive direction, whether it's from fear of being called out or a genuine want to do better.
Yeah, I really hope so. Thank you so much.
Okay. So scandalous. Our first anonymous interview, right? So we're really getting into the secret stuff here. This interview kind of broke my heart, and really my
Yeah.
jaw was agape for a lot of it. What were your reactions to this?
A lot of it was pretty unfortunate to hear. Some of it was not surprising, the fact that everyone's poly and fucking each other and kinky. I'm like
Mm-hmm.
fork found in kitchen.
Yes. At first
But
I was like, "Ooh, this is going to be good." And then it got really dark.
right,
It was
I
like
was
everybody's fucking each other, but they don't want to be.
yeah, the cult-like atmosphere is enlightening. That was definitely something that was shown in the HBO series with King George, which makes sense. now knowing that so many of the people are volunteers, it's like, well, why do they come back year after year?
Right. Like you have to have a certain charisma to convince
Yeah,
people to be like spending their precious outside of work hours with you.
right.
Yeah.
Writing the age on the cleavage was
Yes,
crazy.
I wrote that down. Writing the age on the cleavage, and our pickle provider is finally 18 as like an announcement to the people who are going to the fair is like here we're seeing kind of we're seeing bodiness decline into just like straight up grooming, like she said. Like
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is that's crazy, and it's like I can see how it would be very like confusing to grow up in an environment like that, and you see all the adults around you like endorsing it, and you're like, yeah, like we have to write our age on our
Mm-hmm.
cleavage to, but like I don't know if the severity of that would like make sense initially.
No,
Like
yeah.
that's
It's one of those
so
things where you
abnormal.
like get to a certain age and you're like, oh, that was really messed up.
Totally.
The animal tail also, that kind of
I
cracked me
know.
up.
It cracked me up too.
The precursor to furries.
Uh-huh. One of my takeaways from the research we've done and this conversation is that I kind of think that all Ren fairs that are run by kings need to be shut down. Because in general, every Renaissance fair either has a king or a queen. So either they're set in the time of Queen Elizabeth the First, I think, or King Henry the Eighth, the guy who cut off everyone's heads.
Yeah.
So like generally all fairs either have a Queen Elizabeth or a King Henry. And I feel like we need to return to the era of Phyllis. We need to have women led fairs where there's always a queen. We should never, the Texas Renaissance Festival has a King George, but still man in power. And I think that it's important that we get women back in charge of Ren fairs to prevent like the kind. I mean, I guess this interview, she was the queen at some of the Ren fairs she's been
Yeah,
at, but
it's not like the king or the queen is the one that's running it.
yeah, but I do think it's kind of like setting a tone from the very top to have a king. And I
Mm.
think that because theoretically, if you do something bad at a Renaissance fair, you should be taken to see the queen or the king. And if it's a woman, you might like be a little bit more cautious about your treatment of other ladies or children in the festival.
Yeah. I guess if we're setting the tone, there should be no royalty.
Oh, I thought you were going to say no men.
That too. I would love
No,
to
there
go
has
to
to
a
be
women
royalty because,
only.
yeah,
That'd be so fun.
that would be awesome. I would love to do that too.
And it's just like we're like, oh, like fairies and our tits are out.
Mm-hmm. Or we're like ugly women by the washing well.
Yeah.
It's whatever you want.
Or we're dressed up as like little boy elves.
Mm-hmm. That's allowed too.
Mm-hmm.
It's very like reminiscent of, like startup culture. Like just do whatever you want. No HR.
Go fast and break things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it bummed me out. Eskimo Sisters in Nebraska was funny. That made me laugh.
Me too.
It definitely gave me pause though. Like I think after our first conversation, I was like, I want to go back to a Ren fair and I want to have a more immersive experience. Like I want to be going all day. I want to go to the like goblin rave in the evening. I want to camp in the campground. And then after this, I was like, okay, but only if I like feel safe there and I want to have a lot of friends with me.
Yeah. It was interesting, like from this interview, she kept saying like it's great as a patron. And so like the discrepancy between the patron experience and the performer or worker experience is interesting. And like it seems like she was still encouraging of people going to a Renaissance fair, but it does, to me, it seems like it crosses over back and forth, especially when you have like this interesting relationship of where the audience is performing too, and they're like getting into a character where they might be more lewd and inappropriate. I would be going to a Renaissance fair. I wouldn't be surprised if it was another patron like making a weird comment.
Totally. Like, I will say her comment about, like, aside from the occasional creepy photographer, kind of like really gave me pause, because she was like, the guests are all fine except for the occasional photographer. And then I was like, oh, like, I didn't even consider how weird that must feel to be like performing when you do feel safe in the Renaissance community.
Mm-hmm.
To be like, yeah, I'm putting on like my fun outfit and I'm gonna go be body, and then to like realize people are like filming you or like taking photos for later is like, that is a scene that should just be in the present moment, I think.
It's like no phones like Berghain.
Yeah, we need no phones like Berghain, exactly. Yeah, the discrepancy makes me sad too. It just sucks. Like, to be a volunteer, you're not making any money. You're like putting yourself out there creatively so hard. You're doing the ultimate thespian act, acting for 14 hours a day, and then you're also getting like sexually harassed and
Yeah.
like made to feel like small and scared by like other people you work with. It just seems like really
Yeah, that is such a bummer.
yeah. But I will say, it sounds like the other person we spoke with has had a very positive experience as a performer. So
Yeah.
definitely something that I'm going to be like conscious of as I go to future Ren fairs. And I agree with you. I feel like we got to be supporting like local fairs. The other thing is, like, if it's a local fair run by good people, I think that there's like a social pressure to behave in a way that maybe gets lost here. Like, you don't want it to be like too local, but also like if you're fair, if you have a fair family or whatever, like that seems like safer.
There's more accountability. There's a better justice system where it's not like someone has to be like formally arrested. They just are not welcome in the community if they're gonna behave badly.
Right. And hopefully they like don't want to behave badly because they like care about their coworkers and friends. In my fair family, my uncle was arrested for child trafficking. And I guess he just gets to stay because the Fair family,
he still lives here.
my Fair mom, Tracy, and my Fair dad, David, don't want Uncle child trafficker to leave.
Yeah.
I feel like this is our first beef. Not My Scene podcast beef with David and Tracy. We need to do an
They're
episode on this,
powerful. They're going to take us down.
They're going to take us over just like they took the Fair over from
Cleveland. They took over Not My Scene from Cleveland. Okay, well, after all of this, the good and the bad, would you say that Renaissance fairs are your scene or could be your scene?
They are. Yeah. I think that after the bad, I do feel less like working at a Ren fair would be such a fun escape from adult life. It definitely was a reality check. But I do want to keep going. And I hope that like we kind of see a reaction in the Ren fair community to the kind of like, it seems like we've kind of reached a point where it's like, okay, all fairs are starting to be owned by the same companies and they're all starting to really have these problems that are like at odds with the spirit of the fair. So I hope that we see a reaction and some like more local performers start taking back control of the fairs. And I think this conversation has like really made me want to go back to Oregon Country Fair. So I think we should do an episode on that.
Totally.
What about you?
I still definitely want to go. I think it could be my scene, although I do have a lot more trepidation about it, and I am more interested in the smaller fairs. But I don't think it's like bad to go. It's not unethical to go to a Renaissance fair.
No, if anything, I feel like it's like we should have more good people going to Ren fairs. Flood the fairs with women.
Yeah, I just think it sounds really fun to dress up and be in a different world for a bit.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And the shows are really good. Maybe to end on a high note, I will say I've seen amazing talent at the shows I've gone to. People are like really, really good at what they do. Like really funny comedy, really great dancers and singers, really sharp swords being swallowed, axes being thrown. Last time I went, I saw this woman who was like in an X on a wheel that was,
Oh
she was being
God.
spun around and he was throwing knives as the wheel was spinning and like it was landing between her legs
Oh
and her
my
arms. It was
God.
crazy.
Now after hearing
Also, I
that
did a
last
deep
interview
dive.
though, I'm like, accidents
Oh my God, I know.
happen.
The sword or something that
Yeah,
went
like flying
through.
off. Oh yeah, and the one that went through. Oh God.
Yeah.
That would be
So
crazy to
scary.
witness. I'd be like, whoa,
Yeah.
crazy special effects if I hadn't known.
I think we should go to a fair together and maybe we can report
We
back as a
should.
follow
Yeah.
up. Yeah.
Yeah. Great. Well, thanks everyone. We will see you in 2 weeks. And remember to share with a friend. Write us notmyscenepod@gmail.com if you have any relevant stories or just thoughts you want to share.
Yay. Thank you.
Yay.
And thank you to our wonderful person that we interviewed who will remain nameless. Thank you for spilling the tea and letting us know what was going on at the
And we
fair.
hope you were sufficiently anonymized and don't face any repercussions.
Oh my God. Can you imagine? We do have a lot of kings. Listen.
Our audience is 30% kings.
No King's Day was really hard for us. Okay.
All right.
See you next
Bye.
time. Bye.